Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name's Sharon Malik, and I'm delighted to welcome you to today's session, Take Control, How Banks and Credit Unions Can Streamline and Modernize Their Origination Customer Journeys. For those of you not familiar with MHC, we are located in the United States with global customers in 50 countries. We have a modern solution for generating regulated customer communications and automating customer journeys called MHC North Star CCM. Before we get started, a few housekeeping notes. Today's webinar is being recorded, and you will receive a follow-up email after the webinar with a link to it. In addition, all participants are going to be muted, but you will have the opportunity to ask questions and follow up with us after the webinar. All right, next slide, please. I'd like to welcome today's presenter, Craig Focardi, who is the Principal Analyst for Retail Banking at Celent and has a deep understanding of the pain points and solutions in customer communications specific to banks and credit unions. Craig, welcome. We're so pleased to have you speaking with us today. Over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Sharon, and thank you, MHC, for having me here today. Today's topic is about origination journeys, customer origination journeys in retail and deposit account origination, the pain points that banks and credit unions have, and the technology solutions that help solve them. Today, we'll cover, four main items. First, what are the demand drivers around improving and automating customer account journeys at banks and credit unions? What's happening in the market and with the competition that's forcing continual change? Second, we'll look at Celent Dimension survey data from 2025 on customer engagement trends and technology spending priorities. Then we'll talk about the various customer journey use cases in retail lending and deposits across different account product types and across account origination, servicing, and portfolio management. And then we'll close by describing what are modern CCM systems and platforms and how do they help streamline retail account origination journeys. So let's dive in. In this first area, we want to talk about the Celent research, but also the personalization requirements that organizations need in order to better compete in today's marketplace. To keep pace with customer expectations, banks need to deliver personalized experiences. And in our 2024 survey in this topic, there were three main survey questions that really stood out that bear mentioning today. You can see at the top that almost 2/3, 62% of banks said that the competitive threat from fintechs and other challengers is increasing. This isn't new information, but it is surprising that after many years of competition, it persists as a key challenge for banks and credit unions. And keeping up with the kind of customer journey processes that they create is critical for organizations today to create as good or better ones. Second, almost 3/4 of banks view consumer channels, even small business channels, and open finance as top product investment priorities. These have also always been a high priority, but have reemerged recently with even more enhanced investment as the market conditions have made it harder for banks and credit unions to compete and retain customers. And then finally, 65% of banks said that they have a clear strategy to engage in the open ecosystem. What does that mean? Well, open banking, such as Section 1033 here in the United States, which was passed last fall, requires financial institutions to enable their retail customers to have greater control over their data, permissioned data. While it's a threat, it's also an opportunity for organizations to to cross-sell products. But regardless, what it means is that organizations are going to need to up their game in terms of how they engage with consumers. So what are the market drivers that are impacting customer engagement and increasing the importance of CCM. This exhibit shows interest rates and how they've changed since just before the pandemic until the present with a forecast here. And it also shows those interest rates over time, as well as the inflation rate measured as the CPI, which is the black bar there. And you can see that rates went down during the pandemic, demand shot way up. We had supply chain problems, and that increased inflation dramatically in those black gray bars there. Well, what did that do to interest rates? Well, they had to go up. And so it's this high interest rate environment that we're still in, which is still a challenge for financial institutions today. You can see that interest rates have started to come down, but the forecast, is that they're not going to come down significantly over the next year or two, and they're definitely not going to get back to where they were back in 2020 and 2021. And so in this kind of environment, uh, organizations really need to up their game in terms of how they engage with customers. And here's a detailed description of what's been going on in the market and how it's impacted customer engagement. This exhibit here shows total deposits at US banks in the gray line there, and the 2-year Treasury rate, one of the interest rate measures there. And so we can see that the Treasury rate went you know, down initially during the pandemic. The Fed lowered interest rates, and that was great for a while. And then interest rates began skyrocketing at the end of 2021, 2022. Well, what happened to deposits at this time? Well, I mean, the good news was that there was a flight to safety and out of the stock market a bit, and consumers, did put money into their deposit savings, CD accounts, and so forth for a time. But then when inflation went up, you can see in that gray area in 2022 and 2023, US banks lost almost $1 trillion of deposits. Why? Because fintech companies and stock brokerage firms like Charles Schwab were uh, competing for those deposits, offering much better interest rates and creating a better digital experience to attract those deposits. Now, there has been some recovery for financial institutions today, but what this experience shows is that volatile markets are always going to be with us, and the digital experience and the ability to attract and retain customers is going to be critical for banks and credit unions to compete, in this kind of environment against fintechs, stock brokerage firms, and others. So that's a little bit about the market environment, the pain points and the dynamics driving, financial institutions, success with their customers in terms of revenue and customer satisfaction. Now let's take a turn towards customer engagement trends and technology spending priorities. And let's take a look at Celent's 2025 Dimensions Survey research. This are survey results from the first quarter of this year. And this particular chart looks at the top investment allocations by business function for retail financial institutions for 2024 and 2025. This is a really interesting chart. If you look at the y-axis first on the left, the position is the percentage of banks viewing that particular product category on the chart as a leading investment area in 2024. And then the horizontal position, the x-axis, is the proportion of banks this year viewing that product category as a leading investment area in 2025. And lo and behold, digital channels and customer engagement are the top priority. They were last year, and they are again this year. It's also important to note that fraud and financial crime, big regulatory compliance areas for financial institutions is also very high. Other channels, ATM and contact center, the less digital, channels are also pretty high speaking to the need for omni-channel customer engagement. But I'd also finally like to point out on this chart, the other item in red there, operations, origination, and onboarding. It's relatively low. And why is that? The origination and onboarding process, the fulfillment and the processing for a consumer loan, for example, has declined a little bit with the higher interest rates. While lending is still clearly very important, organizations have redirected investments elsewhere, the digital channels, customer engagement, fraud, et cetera. So it's still important, but on a relative basis, less so. But here's where customer communications management comes into play. Because CCM is part of the origination and onboarding processes, because it integrates with digital channel solutions, it can help bridge this gap and between the digital channels and the fulfillment side of things and help bring up that item in red further towards the middle of the chart. Now, with that background and context, let's talk about customer communications management in general. And, I view it as an essential component of engagement banking and the personalized customer experience. CCM, I categorize in my research as one of a number of different types of content services, along with enterprise content management, customer experience management, and et cetera. And I highlight ECM here as well as CCM because increasingly over time, the features and functionality and the capabilities of those two things increasingly overlap. As a result of that, we've seen uh, acquisitions and partnerships happen over the last 5 or 6 years. In fact, MHC Automation and Box recently announced their own partnership in that area, specifically because content management and document generation is important to customer experience, customization, and workflow. And then finally, here's a quote from a prior CCM research report of mine. The customer journey depends on linking CCM to customer engagement during loan and deposit account origination. And the concentric circles there that show CCM in the center highlight what that quote says. It has the ability, because it's involved in managing communication events, if you have a broader CCM platform that integrates with core processing systems, digital front-end solutions, the account origination systems for loans and deposits, it's going to help improve that overall customer experience, the pull-through rate on customer product sales and customer retention and so forth. Now, on to another survey question with that context around CCM and customer engagement. This is an additional survey we did in the first quarter of this year. We were looking at data management, new data sources, and something called data fabric, which has to do bringing data together with front and back office processes, ensuring fast decisioning workflow and personalized customer, loan product offers. We asked two questions that were very related to this webinar, and so I've highlighted them here. The first on the left is about bank plans to license or subscribe to cloud or SaaS-based solutions around loan origination and decisioning from a third-party vendor. And you can see that loan and account origination solutions were at the top here amongst these other categories: customer intelligence, payments processing. Credit risk is linked to loan origination, so it's about the same there. The fraud risk, which has gone up a lot over the last 2 or 3 years, is a close second, and is related to that compliance issue that we're talking about there. And so as organizations take advantage of AI, ML, and generative AI, and they want to bring that data into lending and account origination processes and customer engagement, it's important to have that ability to manage that data. And CCM solutions need to be more flexible in order to make that happen. And that's where CCM platforms SaaS solutions are based in the cloud become increasingly important. And the right-hand question there, we plan to originate and add new data solutions in the following areas. You can see again, loan and account, deposit account origination is again at the top of the charts, just um, to hammer home the point that I made earlier. Um, payments processing, always important, but those are really low value, higher volume transactions that are in the back office. Loan account origination and fraud are higher value. In the case of fraud, higher potential loss transactions, uh, that need their level of automation and have greater levels of customer engagement. So let's turn to the customer journey use cases in retail lending and deposits. There are a lot of them, and they all benefit from CCM, personalization, and multi-channel communications. And you can see here that the account types are in three different categories: deposit accounts, CDs, as well as various kinds of cards, payment cards, and so forth. Consumer loans, which can be everything from auto loans, personal loans, and credit cards, and mortgage loans, which I put in a separate category because they are much more complex. They're secured real estate transactions. All three of these different categories do have similarities in what they need, what the processing is, and how customer engagement works. All of these different account types engage with the customer on the front end. They have some kind of account application where they gather information. Uh, Credit checks are done, fraud checks are done, documents and regulatory disclosures are presented. Documents may be collected, such as ID verification for compliance reasons from the loan applicant. And then fulfillment is done, which requires integration and workflow into those, front office and middle office lending processes and some of those compliance background checks. And so all of these different use cases here, particularly the more complicated ones as you get into secured auto loans and home equity and mortgage loans, have numerous customer touch points and require a lot of customer engagement, ideally in real time, and hopefully in a personalized and highly personalized way. Now, the customer originated account journeys that we just looked at on the previous slide, here is a way to present the processes that happen from the search, selection, and application process for consumers, all the way through account origination to onboarding, and also on the back end, account management as well. And I'd like to, highlight first the loan applicant, the major processes they go through, hopefully on a digital basis there, but also then the important role of CCM, the main functions of CCM, the document composition, the delivery orchestration of those documents, uh, the normalization and transformation of that data sometimes, the broader content document management, either within the CCM solution or in conjunction with the ECM solutions that we talked about earlier, and then content archives, which can be in a CCM solution, oftentimes longer term or permanent content archives may be in the ECM solution to meet regulatory requirements, such as the box and the MHC automation partnership that I talked about earlier. And to that point, the document processing function is really critical. There's a lot of middle and back office activities going on there. Consumers downloading applications, sending them in. They will receive regulatory disclosures at times. Some of those need to be signed and initialed digitally and sent back in. They're going to be sending in their driver's licenses or other ID documents for the KYC compliance checks, and then other loan approval, deposit, checking account approval documents. all that involves document processing. Very complex. Um, Also can be very similar between the different kinds of loan document types. So again, if we think about CCM systems as not just being a one-trick pony for a single process on the back end, if we think about it being done in account origination, and we think about it supporting different kinds of deposit and loan accounts, if you have a CCM platform, in the context of these, complex and interconnected processes, CCM platforms are increasingly in demand and have a lot of value. So with that, let's dive in and talk about what does a modern CCM platform look like and tie it together with some of the things that I've mentioned along the way about how they can help streamline those retail account journeys here. So the title says a modern CCM platform. You can streamline those journeys without a full stack rebuild. And so what does that mean? It means you can take advantage of a lot of the solutions you have today, whether it's your digital channel software, whether it's your loan or deposit account origination solutions. Financial institutions usually have multiple account origination solutions that are specialized for a separate loan type. You don't have to rip out and replace those. You can keep those in place. Uh, and or if you do want to replace those eventually over time, a modern CCM platform can help you do that. How does that happen? Well, at the center of it remains the core capabilities that CCM systems have already had. Document composition engine, the content and correspondence management, the ability to uh, integrate and transform and normalize data to respond to inbound communications as well as distributing outbound responses and then managing those processes. So what are the capabilities of this modern platform that we're talking about? That's depicted by the four circles on the outside of the inner circle there: systems integration and collaboration, technical capabilities, uh, company capabilities, their products, and the scope of the organization, and the omni-channel customer engagement. So let's unpack each of those a little bit. The systems integration, we need to think about is not just one-to-one point integrations from a CCM solution to a loan origination system or a customer experience management system. It's now APIs that are reusable, that can be integrated into multiple solutions, and that are easier to update and change as data requirements change, for example. That makes it a lot easier with reusable APIs to integrate with multiple channels, to integrate with multiple loan and deposit account system types in ways that were much more cumbersome than in the past. Technology capabilities, other technology capabilities. Some larger organizations may have case management software, enterprise integration solutions, specialized BI and analytics systems. For those organizations that have those specialized solutions, a CCM platform, again, because of the flexible, componentized nature of its underlying capabilities and API integration, can now better integrate with case management and workflow solutions, populate information to BI and analytics dashboards. Company product and scope capabilities. You know, for those of us today, I think we're all based in the United States, but for some financial institutions that operate in Canada and across different countries, the ability to have the flexible technology, the ability to localize the CCM solution for a given country, a loan product, and a regulatory environment becomes very, very important. And then, finally, all the technical flexibility that we've touched on so far, the omni-channel integration, customer channel preferences. Some of those digital channel solutions have customer preferences embedded into them. Those can be integrated with the CCM solutions in order to deliver that experience through um, the document composition capabilities. And not just digital capabilities, but also outbound bulk print and mail and email if needed. So to wrap things up here on the content portion of the presentation, a modern CCM solution built for the modern age is what organizations need as market dynamics go up and down. Financial institution needs fluctuate and their technology priorities fluctuate. The increased composability, cloud native nature, API integration of CCM platforms enables organizations to adapt and grow, consolidate, see other CCM solutions onto one broader platform, whatever organizations are looking for in terms of priority, so they can fulfill the customer engagement requirements while achieving their own lending and deposit account, loan growth, and retention goals. And so with that, I'll turn things back over to you, Sharon.
Great. Thank you so much, Craig. That's been an excellent presentation. And as we wrap up, I want to draw your attention to those watching to MHC's enterprise-grade CCM solution for customer communications. And it also has AI-powered, flexible, low-code tools, like Craig's been discussing, for building intelligent interactive forms to collect all the customer data, and then to also streamline and build the journeys and workflows we've discussed today. So we would love to talk with any attendees listening who are looking to modernize and streamline their customer journeys. Please visit our website and you'll find a place where you can request a conversation or a demo, and we would love to talk to you. Okay. And then in terms of questions, Craig, do you have any final comments or insights before we conclude today?
Yeah, just one thing in terms of takeaways. How do banks and credit unions utilize this information? It's meant to be prompt further food for thought. For those of you involved in whether it's in product development or compliance or front end customer engagement technologies or processing, think about the meetings and discussions that you're involved in, whether it's for technology spending, latest enhancements, feature functionality. If you're in IT, very much the same thing. You know, take some of the ideas and thoughts from this and say, how does it apply to my organization? And how might I learn and do something better tomorrow that I've learned from this webinar today?
Okay. And I assume that if any questions come up, they can reach out to you directly on LinkedIn
Yes, they
or
can.
the information provided. That would be great. Thank you so much, Craig. It's been an insightful presentation, and I'm so pleased that you were able to join us. Finally, before you all leave, just a few quick reminders. We're offering 2 webinars next month to help you address customer communication challenges. The first one is on the 24th, and it's for healthcare beyond the electronic medical records system, revisiting your strategy around patient engagement and communications. And this is a panel discussion of healthcare CIO experts hosted by Anthony Guerra of Health System CIO. And then probably most interesting is on June the 25th, we're actually having another panel discussion with our partners, Box and MSI, about exactly what Craig has been talking today about, this unified ecosystem between CCM and ECM and managing end-to-end documents across the life cycle to transform compliance, customer engagement, and a host of other things. So I hope you'll register for one or both of these. And if you can't attend, we'll then send you the link to the recording. And then for our final slide, I just want to say thanks again to Craig and all our attendees for being here today. Please watch for the link to the the webinar recording, watch it again, share it, and please enjoy the rest of your day.